All right, well, the trade period is over, so it's time to get stuck into Mitch's first edition of his mock draft for 2024. All right, so to break this down is our chief AFL editor, Mitch Keating. Welcome back, mate.
Hello, how are you?
Not bad, not bad. Held down the fort with the trade period while you were off gallivanting in Fiji, which is very nice. So, but now it's business time. Mock draft, your first edition. The draft is less than a month away, so November 20 to 21st is the 2024 AFL Draft. How does this mock draft work? What are the rules?
So we're just looking at the first round. So 23 picks is the current order, but that'll blow out to about 27 with a few father-son or academy bids here and there. We're not looking at live trading for this draft at least. Like I said, it is a first edition, so we're just going to look at the picks, look at the prospects, and kind of just see how it all aligns. I think maybe in our second or at least in our third, ahead of the draft, we'll have some live trades and some alternative outcomes. I think that's why we'll do probably 3 across, just to look at the kind of chain reaction that might happen if Richmond take X player at pick 1 and what that means for the rest of the draft. And then in our second one, they might look at a second prospect and what that means for the rest of the draft. So this one, pretty straightforward, just down the line, picks 1 to 27. Like I said, there's 4 matched bids all up.
Yep.
And yeah, let's get into it.
Beautiful. All right, so we did do a top 10 prediction previously. Order has changed since then. Looking at the draft order, give some comments on the draft class as a whole. I've heard, and especially during trade period, that this is a deep draft.
Yeah, nice and even, I think is the way to put it. So I see this maybe about 7 or 8 prospects at the top. And then after that, just very even. You always, in clubs, just about every club will draft on best available at some point. But here there is a bit more, in the eyes of the beholder, and maybe it does come down to list meat's just a touch. So after that 8, very even for the rest of the first round at the very least.
Yep. Awesome. All right, let's get into pick 1. All right, so pick 1, we're going with Finn O'Sullivan. Richmond are going to take Finn O'Sullivan, midfielder from Karoi.
Yeah, it's a big question, who they're going to take at pick 1. You mentioned our top 10 that we had straight after the right before finals when we had a look, and I had Finn going at pick 1 as well then. And I think he's the best all-round midfielder in what is a very midfield heavy top end of the draft. I think he's the best all-rounder. Now, you look at his numbers, you're probably not going to think he's going to compare all that well to the likes of a Jagger Smith or maybe a Murphy Reid, but his output is what you're getting here, his influence and what he's able to do with 20 disposals instead of 30. So the Tigers will have another pick probably following pretty early, currently at pick 6, but they might move themselves up in the order and potentially pair an O'Sullivan with someone that can complement his craft a little bit as well. But yeah, I have him as probably that ideal selection for Richmond.
Yep.
A bit of an injury hit year as well, so the year he had compared to a few others probably isn't there, but he had more than enough runs on the board last year to warrant pick 1 selection.
Yeah, so I've heard you refer to his damage, the damage that he puts on, which I think is ideal for Richmond, losing Bolton, everything in the trade period. So nice, pick 1.
Done.
All right, so for pick 2, we're predicting North to force Brisbane's hand in Levi Ashcroft with a matched father-son bid.
Yeah, exactly the same as 2 years ago with Will. North putting in pick 2 for a kid who I think, and much like Will, is the best player in the draft.
Yep.
Not clearly, but in my eyes, the best player in the draft. Probably doesn't fetch a bit of pick 1 though. It's just how a lot of that kind of maps out, and particularly with Brisbane and Richmond doing a bit of a deal during the trade period to help themselves with some picks on both sides. But yeah, Levi's just absolutely stellar, whatever level he played. With Sandy winning 3 straight flags, which I don't think has ever been done before, with Vic Metro and taking them to an undefeated carnival, with AFL Academy up against VFL talent and easily probably being the best across their 2 games. And then in the VFL for Brisbane and having 35 touches and a goal against GWS's reserves. So very different to Will, which I think works really well for Brisbane. Will's that flashier, quicker ball winner, whereas Levi, in and under, inside, maybe a bit like your Lockie Neal.
Yep.
So that's obviously a pretty welcome addition for them. straight off the back of a grand final.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. It's terrifying. Bit more grit with Levi Ashcroft, so that is pick 2. So pick 3, North Melbourne. We're going with Sam Lawler from Bacchus Marsh. Forward.
Yeah, as we kind of mentioned in our top 10 as well, I see North Melbourne not having this pick, when they're first on the clock. But like I said, no live trades. If there is an outcome where they actually can't find a suitor for pick 2, in this outcome, it might be Sam Lawler who they go with. Should he still be on the board? Richmond are said to be interested as well. They've just got such a heavy midfield group already that I think if they're going to pick one of these top end midfielders, that Lawler might be the one. He's just so damaging forward of the ball as well. Size is one thing. Power, burst. That De Goey, Dustin Martin, Christian Petrarca type archetype of match winner, X Factor type player. So another one who had a bit of an injury hit year, didn't play all that much at the national champs or in the talent league, but school footy really stood out as well. And I think there was just enough glimpses there to see him have probably more upside than a lot of the other kids at the top end of the draft.
Yep, beautiful. All right, so coming into the pick 4, Carlton ended up with pick 4 from that trade period, and you're predicting a name that a lot of people have been talking about, Jagger Smith.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see who they go for after moving so high up into the draft. I think Finn O'Sullivan's the one in their sights, but off the board already in this exercise at the very least. So I think Smith's probably the next one that they might go for. Him, maybe Sid Draper. Lawler's probably another one as well who they would like. So they're going to get a great kid no matter what. And Smith's going to be such a welcome addition to what is already a pretty star-studded midfield group. But ball winning is his expertise, but great leadership, just a cunning inside midfielder who can easily just get on the outside, quick steps, evasiveness, clean hands. And then when I talk about his disposal numbers, 33.8 disposals, 29.3 disposals, and 27.3 disposals in the Talent League, National Champs, and then in the VFL respectively. So they're the kind of numbers he's putting up, and he's damaging as well. His form in the VFL for Richmond was probably took his stocks to another level as well, which was really great for him. And I think a lot of the scouts would have been quite happy to see that as well. Yeah, so Carlton, it's going to be a midfielder, which is quite interesting. Certainly didn't see this playing out, them going off all the way for pick 3, but look, they're here. They can be very excited about it. And yeah, I think it's probably either going to be an O'Sullivan or a Smith. In either case, they're going to have a great addition to their squad.
Yeah, beautiful. Nifty midfield to learn from too with Cripps and Walsh. So, pick 4, Jagger Smith. Okay, pick 5, Adelaide, homegrown talent, Sid Draper. Good one.
Yeah, top prospect in SA and by some distance. The Crows will be absolutely rubbing their hands together if he's there for their first pick. Because not only is he local, he's just a perfect fit for their midfield group. He's got that pace, burst, speed that I think they've lacked over the last couple of years. Jordan Dawson, Jake Sligo, Isaac Rankin is that new midfield group, moving away from the Matt Crouches and the Rory Lairds. And I think that Draper comes in and is that final little puzzle piece that they need on top of a few other depth options. Played 6 games for South Adelaide senior side and was arguably their best over that period. And he's just such a damaging midfielder. A few little concerns maybe with injuries, but I think he'll be fine for the long run. And the action he missed out on last year was probably made up for. This year was probably made up for last year. Was MVP for South Australia as a bottom major, and certainly had those runs on the board nice and early to coming into 2024.
Yep, exciting stuff. All right, so pick 6, my boys, Melbourne Demons, taking Harvey Langford, who likens his game to Marcus Bontempelli. Love that.
Yeah, 190 plus centimetre midfielder, can go forward, great overhead mark. And that's one of the things that certainly stands out for him is his size and still his ability to kind of break away a little bit. Not the quickest player in the top end of this draft, but power, execution, and like I said, kind of aerial craft. And ability on the ground and get teammates involved is another one. So that Bont-like addition to Melbourne's midfield group would be pretty nice. And they're certainly going to be pretty happy with the outcome, I think, the D's, given they've got a couple of these top picks now. And Langford's good chance to be there at in this case, pick 6. Lark medal winner, put up some great numbers for Vic Country and really rose with the expectations when you go into the national champs from the Talent League. And he was one of the standouts for Vic Country for sure.
Cool. And with their second pick in the top 10, Richmond, pick 7, Murphy Reid.
Yeah, so like we said earlier, I want to kind of compliment that first selection. After they took Finn Sullivan at pick 1, and Reid's quite a different player, a bit smaller, more of an attacking threat, can go forward, kick goals, still a good accumulator, tough, speedy around the midfield, and really rose up the draft boards across this year, and particularly with his form with Vic Metro. 24.5 disposals, 9.2 contested possessions, 3.2 clearances, 3.2 tackles to take out the MVP award for Vic Metro in their undefeated carnival run. So the second of their 7 or 8 first round picks. He's a very nice addition at pick 7 for sure.
Yep. Okay, pick 8 for the Saints, Josh Smiley, big lad.
Yeah, big. Like Patrick Cripps, big. You're looking at like a key position size talent who is a midfielder, is what you're getting in Josh Smiley. Just absolute monster against obviously kids of his opposition this year. Started off probably as the best performing player in 2024 with the Eastern Rangers. His form for Vic Metro probably lacking that same height that I think a few were hoping for. But nevertheless, one of the best midfielders doing it this year. I think some people think that because of his size, he might not be able to play outside of midfield too much, but he's actually quite a versatile kid. Can play forward, can maybe even go behind the ball a little bit as well. And for the Saints, like I said, at pick 8, they're kind of looking at who's left over a little bit from that top branch, and they might not want a contested ball winner, but it's going to be very hard for them to overlook someone like Josh Smiley with their first selection. They've got one following up at least next as well, but I still think there's a good fit for him at St Kilda in that group.
Yep. And the Saints following up with pick 9, we're taking Harry Armstrong, another big lad, but a key forward, big one this time.
Yeah, same size as Josh Smiley in height, but more of the aerial dominant forward that I think some Saints fans might like to see. Local product out of the Sandy Dragons, which we know that the Saints are kind of looking toward getting some of the local kids through. And arguably the best key forward in this year's draft class. I'll be pretty happy with that at pick 9. Brewed 27 goals in the Talent League this year, and Vic Metro he won Team of the Year honours as well. So very good straight kick. Good in the air. Pretty crafty at his feet as well. I think that's probably a nice one for the Saints to look at. Is some might say, do they need a key forward? But I just think there's a bit lacking in that forward group outside of Max King. So
Yep. Absolutely. And rounding out the top 10 with pick 10 Essendon Match Academy bid, Isaac Kako. I've heard a lot about this kid.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I think the value in him has certainly grown across the year, and Essendon fans are going to have a very nice small forward, and what is a list need as well for them this off season. Very crafty ground level threat, nice bit of pace on him. Thankfully for them, I don't think he's going to cost them necessarily too much in a way. They might be able to, and they'll look to trade back into the first round, I think, once a bid comes in, which kind of makes it interesting. They don't want the bid to come too early, and then they have to cough up, heaps of points and might not have enough points. But at the same time, they don't want it to come too late, that by the time they want to trade back in, they're not getting the level of talent they might want to. So when the bid comes, I thought St Kilda will be a good chance. Melbourne here as well. They could even do it at pick 6 if they wanted to, the Ds, but I don't know if it'll come that early. So it's going to be an interesting little tale on draft night when this bid comes in. And nevertheless, Essendon will go home with one of the best small forwards that have come through the draft for some time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'll pair up nicely with Nate Caddy. And the Ds at pick 11, Luke Traynor, key defender.
Yeah, I really rate him. I think he's probably a top maybe 8 prospect, to be honest, or top 10 prospect, and just sliding out to 11 here. Nice get for Melbourne. I think a key defenders might be what they look at. But on top of that, they could very much be just going for best available for someone like Luke Traynor as well at this selection. Very good ball user, intercept player, which is, it's not something you get too much at 194 centimetres with a kick that can kick so well. And then you just think about, Stephen May and Jake Lever getting on a little bit and who's that next in line. He could be a nice little addition for them. And played pretty quickly as well. He was really good for the AFL Academy up against Coburg and Footscray. So has shown he can play against some pretty experienced bodies almost immediately. Could even go at that Melbourne's first selection, I think. So there's a nice little window for him there around that, from picks 5 to maybe 12. for Luke Traynor. So, nice defender to look out for.
Yep, interesting. And with Richmond's third pick at pick 12, we're thinking Toby Travalia played alongside Harley Reid.
Yeah, well, I think West Coast would like him if he slid a couple of extra picks. But, Richmond will certainly have him in their sights. Nice defensive flanker, push up onto the wing, play through the middle as well. Win at 23 touches, 6 intercept possessions, 5 score involvements, and All-Australian under 18s player and team of the year as well for the Talent League. So absolutely, fantastic, pacey outside flank option who I think will complement some the Tigers, kind of, inside options that they've got so far in this draft. And they'll lose a bit of run with Dean Rioli going out as well. Travalia played for Carlton's VFL side and looked at home as well, so it could be an instant starter for them.
Yep, absolutely. I think midfielders that can defend are extremely valuable. So nice one. And pick 13, Richmond again. They've got way too many picks in this first round, but we're thinking Alexander Taru.
Yeah,
Warrigal boy.
Yeah, one of the bolters in this year's draft a little bit, just with probably a lesser known name early into the year, but still got ticked off for Vic Country and was really good for Gippsland Power throughout, as mostly an intercepting defender. But then those same traits of his being able to fly the ball almost with no mercy and really getting his first hands to it. Used him as a forward and proved he can kick goals pretty comfortably. So a nice swingman option at 193 centimetres. Nice little one for the Tigers. Just give them some versatility when they've got such a new kind of group coming through. And they want to kind of fit everyone in just here, there and everywhere. So I think when you've got someone like Taru on your list, just gives you that little bit. If you need a forward, you've got a forward. If you need a defender, you've got a defender. A bit like what they've got with Noel Bolter a little bit at the moment as well. So that'd be a nice kind of 1-2 punch.
Yeah, love a swingman. And with pick 14, we're thinking a Match Academy bid, Gold Coast, Leonardo Lombard. Great name.
Absolutely.
Gold Coast went pretty crazy at the draft last year, but a bit more straightforward this year.
Yeah, a bit easier. They'll have the points to match a bit here, and it could come a bit earlier as well. We saw how much work they had to do last year to get those 4 in, and this should be much more straightforward. And they're getting a kid who might be better than the 4 they got last year. He comes as a VFL Premiership player already.
Yep. And
great for the Allies as a bottom major last year and was a really successful year for him. And then this year took out the Lark medal, stand out for the Allies with 26.3 disposals, 4.8 clearances, 6 inside 50s, 5 score involvements, 4.5 tackles and a goal a game. Don't want to make it too easy, but the player comparison for him is like a Tuke Miller. And they're which is going to be quite nice when Tuke gets to the end of his career, and then they've got Lombard hitting his straps at the right time with the Andersons and Rouse all around him. So that's such an exciting addition for them. Speedy midfielder, small, but packs a punch, a bit like your Chad Waters and your Zach Butters.
Yep. I feel like we've said this a million times, but the future is looking bright at the Gold Coast. Well, after giving up pick 3 to Carlton, which ended up being pick 4, West Coast now have pick 15, but they get Western Australian Bo Allen.
Yeah, stand out for WA. And I guess a bit like what Adelaide are getting with Sid Draper is a local product for West Coast, a kid who can play as a third kind of tall defender. But this year for WA really proved his wares as a midfielder and a very good one at that. Nice bit of size on him at 191 centimetres, good bit of burst, explosiveness, and played the second half of the year for Peel Thunder Seniors and got himself a Waffle Premiership medal around his neck as well. So that was great to see. 20 disposals, 3.7 clearances, 6.3 score involvements, and 6.0 tackles. Great defensive-minded midfield option for West Coast, who I think would be a nice kind of fit when you've got a Ruben Ginby in there already, and those two can kind of wax and wave a little bit across half-back or in the middle. Plenty of grunt and nice bit of support for Harley Reid as well.
Yep, Bo Allen, no-brainer. And Port Adelaide's first pick at pick 16, Cooper Hines.
Yeah, probably a kid I think I rate highly more than what I've seen others do, and I don't know why that is, but I really come along to liking his game. Very good output with what he's been able to do with the ball. When you go at 23 plus touches and you kick 23 goals in a season, you're doing something right. And that's kind of the player he is, a very attacking-minded midfielder who can go forward, kick heaps of goals. I think you look a little bit like what Bailey Humphrey was able to do a couple of years for Gippy. And that's exactly what Cooper Hines is. And nice little get for Port. I think at this point that midfield forward could probably play a bit more forward early in his career, exactly like what they did with the Roseanne and Butters in 2019 and 2020. And it'd be a nice little addition for him at pick 16.
Yep, love it. And moving along now, pick 17, Fremantle with Taj Houghton.
Yeah, he's the one that could probably turn out to be one of the bargain pickups, just given injuries probably is what pushed him back to this late into the draft. Looked like a top 10 chance before doing his ACL. I think a lot of clubs could still look at him as a top 10 chance, but injury certainly puts him back a little bit. But he played a few really good games right before that setback, 32 disposals and 4 goals. Was a real highlight performance for him, for Sandy. And I think what we were able to see from him last year as well a little bit. Has put more than enough runs on the board for him to still be a first round pick. And for Fremantle, they're looking to be in contention from next year. So you'd think that they don't have to be relying as much on early draft picks, and Houghton can kind of have that afforded time to recover, get some legs through Peel, and then maybe make a debut in a year or two.
Yep.
As a nice kind of attacking half forward midfield option.
Yep. Could complement Shea Bolton quite nicely down there. And GWS's first selection with pick 18, Xavier Lindsay, another Gippy boy.
Yeah, this might be considered a bit of a slide as well, I think, by some. You could go in the top 10, which I think I've said about just about every pick so far already. But that's kind of when we talk about the evenness. Like once you hit kind of that next barrier, it's really whoever's got that pick and what they want. But yeah, Lindsay was fantastic across every game, every level he played at. Unfortunately, knee injury curtailed his season, but managed to claim the Morris medal but before he got injured, and was great for Vic Country, one of their best, and particularly in that deciding match where they narrowly lost to Vic Metro. He had that one game with AFL Academy where he played a bit in defence, which we saw a little bit last year as well, and in the Futures game when they had so many midfielders that they want to try and fit into one team. He showed his versatility as a halfback option, and I think that's something that could be very valuable when you look at what a Shearsel and a Dacos has done in the last couple of years. But at the same time, you can put him right in the midfield as a contested ball beast, and he's able to do that. So you think of like a Zach Merritt. I'm thinking more, got those left footers, and he's one of them who can stay in the middle, put him on a wing, put him at halfback, and he's going to have the ability to really damage the opposition. So this is a really nice get, I think, if you're GWS and you're at pick 18.
Yep, exciting stuff. And following up, pick 18 with pick 19, GWS, Job Shanahan.
Yeah, 195 centimetre forward. Can probably play a bit taller than what he is, but he's a pretty good ground level threat as well. Decent year for the Allies and Bendigo Pioneers. He's had some good prospects with as well. But I think most of his growth up a lot of rankings would be what he did in the VFL. I think it was 3 games, 11 goals, averaged close to 10 touches, 5 marks, 6 score involvements. It's a really, really good output for a kid playing in the VFL, especially when you're a key position player as well. So that's certainly going to excite. Did that for Essendon, who I think might have a bit of an interest in him if, once that Kako bid comes through, that they might try and trade in to get Shanahan if he's still on the clock. But at the same time, GWS with a bit of key forward depth, and he can probably play, like I said, more of a medium, or can play a bit tall as well. So that gives him a nice little bit of flexibility. When they eventually have to look to life after Jesse Hogan, they've got Aaron Cadman in there, Jake Riccardi, but maybe another piece like a Shanahan might be nice. Yeah.
So it's unlikely he comes straight in if he does get drafted to GWS with those.
Well, yeah, you'd think so. Like, they certainly want to prioritise Aaron Cadman's development. He came along a lot this year. And you've got the Coleman medal winner. Cal Brown's also pressing his case. So it's kind of, it's nice for a key forward to be able to come into an AFL list and not be relied on straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and pick 20, the Western Bulldogs first selection. So Alex Dodson, highest rated ruck. They've got a lot of tools down at the kennel.
Yeah, they do. And I'm just kind of in my mind thinking that they still need a ruck. Behind Tim English, they've got Lockie Smith, and that's it.
Yeah.
Rory Lobb's now a defender. Sam Darcy certainly is going to be moving from the forward line after his year. So I think they just need a little bit of that next man up at some point. English has got a lot of good years left in him, but Dodson would be a nice little get, I think, for them as that next project player. They gave English a lot of time before he came good, and I think that's probably what they might need from Dodson. So out of South Australia, it's fantastic for Sturt and fantastic for SA across his year as well. Picked a AFL over basketball, which was nice to see at 201 centimetres. And yeah, the standout ruckman. So if they want to get a ruckman that they know they can rely on for some time down the track, then Dodson's the man.
Yeah, I'll say it. Basketball background. And with yet another first round selection, pick 21 this time, Richmond Joe Berry from Wangaratta.
Yeah, an exciting small forward who probably could level Isaac Kako in that regard as arguably the best in this year's draft class. 9 goals from his 4 games for Vic Country. I think he kicked 27 for Murray Bushrangers to sit equal third in the Talent League goal kicking. Pacey, exciting, good pressure as well, which is what you want in a small forward. So, nice little get for Richmond, and they certainly could have him at pick 12 and 13, which is, I think, the selections we had for them after a couple of bids. So that's kind of the range that he could be a lot earlier in this draft. And if he slides to here, it's hard to see him going past Richmond.
Yep. Cool. Okay, so pick 22, Brisbane, matched academy bid, Sam Marshall.
Yeah, another one for the Lions who they'll just be rubbing their hands together with Ashcroft and Marshall coming through.
And coming off a premiership.
Coming up, that helps as well, yeah. You just got to think 2 years ago when they took Will Ashcroft and Jasper Fletcher.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about Will Ashcroft, and rightly so, and maybe less so about Jasper Fletcher. And now you look at the player that Fletcher's turned into, just a staple on the wing for them, premiership player, just a great, result, even though he was a first-round pick. And I think it's a very similar story with Marshall. Probably won't have that immediate, swing into the senior side. Fletcher got in there after a little while, but still more of a pure midfielder. He's going to be interesting to see when this bid comes in, because the Lions are going to have a lot to do to make sure that they can match Levi, and then they'll have to probably trade in a couple extra picks after that to make sure that a bid for Marshall is also being able to match. But 27 disposals, 5.5 marks, 4 clearances, 5 score involvements, 3.8 tackles in his games for the Allies is one of the best. Matched really well with Leonardo Lombard, and took out best of field honours in Sandringham's grand final win with, I think, 28 and 2. So, really good option for them, and chance to go top 15 maybe, which would cause even further headaches for the Lions, but they'll get him no matter what. And so another nice addition for them for the long haul.
Yep, just a good time to be a Lion at the moment. All right, moving through now. Sydney's first selection, pick 23, Kale Durine. Yeah,
big WA boy, monster really. When you look at how he kind of stood next to some of his opposition this year over in WA, he's just so strong, big ruck forward, who just uses his power, his size, his burst to his advantage. Can go forward, kick plenty of goals, can go in the middle and have plenty of the ball and win plenty of the hitouts. For West Perth this year, at the under 18 at the Colts level, it was just an absolute standout. Had a couple of games as well in the seniors, which certainly doesn't hurt his cases either, and was pretty solid for WA throughout their carnivals. So for Sydney, they've got a few of these like ruck forwards. When you look at a McLean or an Amadi, but I think another WA kid as well. But another one coming through who could, I think just add to that and learn off some of those guys might be quite a nice addition for them for the long haul.
Yep, I think being able to hit out in the ruck is a pretty big advantage. And a pick 24, Richmond again, and not even their last one in the first round, but Jonty Fall, key forward.
Yeah, and one of the best. I think we talked about Harry Armstrong earlier, and there's a couple more and we just talked about Jerome as well. But Fall, lot of output, had a very delayed start to the season, didn't play in the Talent League until I think round 10, finished the year with 27 goals, third most in the comp, kicked 16 in his first 5, just a big-bodied, crafty key forward who's pretty good at his feet as well, which is always what you like to see. So this one starts to look at maybe some list needs and kind of diversify these 100 first-round picks that Richmond have, and I think they'll certainly be looking at one of the key forwards, and Fall might be the one at the top of their list. They could look at Armstrong with one of those early selections, but I think this part of the draft, and the second half of the first round, that is, where you start to probably have a look at a few more of these key forwards come through. And Fall might be the pick of the bunch for the Tigers for sure.
Yep. All right, pick 25, GWS, Jack Whitlock. We did previously have him in our top 10 in our earlier video about a month ago. So key forward, tell me about him.
Yeah, 200 centimetre tall. I think 25 goals this year for the Murray Bushrangers and very strong carnival for Vic Country as well. Obviously his height is one thing that helps him, but he's got a great leap on him, good read of the ball in when it's in the air, and a nice kick as well to finish it all off. Another one for GWS, we had them taking Shanahan, who's probably that, like I said, probably a bit of a smaller sized tall forward, if that makes sense, tall, small forward. where Whitlock's that, out and out new age, 200 plus centimetre key position talent who will take a little bit of time to develop as well, which we said Shanahan would be afforded to too. So, just make for a nice little future forward tandem with those two and Aaron Cadman. And again, GWS, you're probably looking at some of the Vic Country kids too, and who you can bring to the club and think you're going to be able to retain and stave off, interest from back in Victoria. So Shepparton product, might suit him up in GWS.
Yep. All right, pick 26, Mike, for Sydney, Jesse Detoli.
Yeah, nice little X factor, half forward. Obviously, play midfield, can play probably deep as well for the Northern Knights this year, and for Vic Metro was a really solid season for him. Probably looking at it as a late first round pick. I think a nice little get for the Swans. They don't necessarily need a player who can have an instant impact straight away, but if they need someone to kind of step up in that forward line, he could certainly be one. They lost Jacob Constanti after using pick 20 on him a couple of years ago, so they probably just want someone in that queue as well. So he'd be a nice little get for them. Can play a bit further up. I think he had a game or two on the wing for Vic Metro. So, I think it would just be a nice, comfy little addition. And the Swans always know what they want. This might be the one that they get.
Yep. And rounding out the first round, pick 27, Richmond again. They've essentially have recruited an entire new team by this point. But we're thinking James Barrett.
Yeah,
another swingman.
Another swingman. Yeah, so if they did take Taru earlier, and that's probably raises some questions. But I think that there's certainly an outcome here that fit both in. Two still very different players, but great aerial. It's going to be very hard to get a ball either into the back line or outmarked in your own defence if you've got Barrett and Taru in there for the years to come. Some might remember James Leake's numbers from last year for Tasmania. Really good intercept defender, probably not as tall. But and then went forward and kicked heaps of goals, and it was kind of the inverse for Barrett this year with 18 goals in his first 6 games. They threw him back, and he averaged 6.2 intercept marks over a 7-game stretch. So 194 centimetre player, so can play that medium to tallish option at either end. Nice little, again, versatility option for the Tigers to round out their suite of selections in the first round.
Yep. Well, Mitch, that wraps it up for your first edition of the mock draft. Good stuff. Not much to look at if you're Geelong, Hawthorn or Collingwood, but you will have a club-by-club analysis on zerohanger.com for the entire draft.
Yeah, every club will have their own dedicated piece, just looking at what their draft hand is, what their list needs are, and then the prospects that might match up with those. So, all coming over the next couple of weeks.
Beautiful stuff. All right, and a second mock draft coming out in a couple of weeks with live tracking as well.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we'll look at alternative options. So, instead of Finn O'Sullivan going to pick one, it might be a Jagger Smith or a Sam Law or a Josh Smiley, and then we said, what does that mean for the rest in a kind of butterfly effect manner? And then, we'll have some live trades as well in there that might just make it a bit more accurate, given some clubs might try and trade in and out of certain selections.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. Thanks for all your hard work and for getting through with that cough that you have.
Thank you, mate.
It doesn't come out
Feel
in the
great.
edit. But like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Chuck us a comment if you disagree or agree with Mitch's picks. You probably do. And catch all the latest AFL news at zerohanger.com.